Hi, this is Rob Aldridge. The title of our movie is The Shepherd of Haggisburrough. It's the tale of little Robbie McCracken, a 9-year-old boy from London who suddenly has to move to a new village in Scotland called Haggisburrough. It's the world's leading export of sheep stomach products, and not really what Robbie considers to be a big step in his dream of one day being an astronaut. He's so disgruntled that he eventually runs away from Haggisburrough with an out-of-work sheepdog named Shep, and eventually discovers a spaceship. What then follows is a musical journey through the solar system. I'm reading today from The Story of Venus, just one of the excerpts from our movie, The Shepherd of Haggisburrough. Enjoy. We drop into the story where Robbie is traveling through space, and he's starving. He's so hungry, he's almost blind. He's so hungry, he almost crashes into a giant billboard with the words El Toro's Restaurant on it. We pick up the story here. Signals panic as Robbie's eyes widen, and he quickly swivels back to the front facing his windshield, where he sees the image of a monstrous bearded head breathing fire.
Turn now!
Robbie frantically spins the steering wheel to a hard left. Exterior space. Robbie's little spaceship veers to the left of a huge sign in the shape of a bandito, of which the monstrous head was a part. There is a striking contrast between the size of Robbie's little ship and the giant sign. Exterior day. His ship makes a bumpy landing onto an empty, dry, cracked asphalt parking lot. There are strange mountains and shapes, along with billowing skies that swirl with multicolors, but still very reminiscent of the cactus-sprung American Southwest. There is a
"Welcome to Venus"
sign in the background as well. Robbie exits the ship before it comes to a halt and begins running at a sprinter's pace, keeping up with the ship as it rolls along beside him. He arrives at the takeout window of a taco stand. Meanwhile, the ship rolls to the right of the building and out of sight. In the distance, you hear an old-style metal trash can banging and chickens clucking to the signal that the ship has crashed into them. The takeout window has double doors that open out in the style of Spanish Mission. The head of a peasant-like man in a diner's cook hat pops out in conjunction with the crashing sound. At the takeout window, he looks to the left and the right. He looks at Robbie. Robbie raises his hand and index finger and opens his mouth as if to order. At the same moment, the man in the cook's hat violently slams the door shut in his face. Perplexed, Robbie hesitantly knocks on the doors. There is a silent pause. Suddenly the doors fly open, and the man leans out and hammers a nail above the doors and hangs a wooden sign that says,
"Closed forever."
The man returns inside and slams the doors shut again. Dust flies in Robbie's face, and he remains there with his index finger still raised. A closing door and footsteps are heard as the camera pans left. Robbie turns to see a young, pretty peasant girl walking from around the corner with her head hung low and her shoulders drooping. The voice of an elderly man is heard.
"Rosa, you forgot your uniform."
With her back still turned to her father and with his hand on her shoulder, she says,
"But I don't want to wear El Toro's uniform, and I don't want to work for El Toro." "But my little flower, you look so cute in your big mustache and your tiny paper sombrero,"
said the father.
"Hello? Excuse me? Pardon me. I really hate to break up this little family moment, but I'm really hungry, and I've come a long way for this here De Milo taco. I'd like a number 3 combo."
The camera cuts to Rosa and her patient face with her sad eyes, and then to her father's face with his sad eyes, and back to little Robbie.
"Oh, please."
The father walks up to little Robbie. Sad strings and Spanish guitar start playing.
"I am very sorry, son, but like the sign says, we are closed forever. The evil El Toro has taken everything, all of our business, all of our customers, all our employees, including my only daughter, Rosa. The only thing we have left It is one last Milo pepper. This is all we have.
The camera pans back and forth between little Robbie's face and the pepper. He looks like he's in a quandary. He wipes his mouth with the back of his hand. His eyebrows go up and down as if he's making a big decision. Unable to control himself, he shamefully grabs the pepper from the father's hand and eats it whole. We hear the sound of multiple violins playing descending notes out of time and finally ending on the ring of a big, rich mission bell. At the end of the bell, cut to little Robbie's face in an apologetic smile. The father and Rosa are standing side by side. They both open their mouths and gasp simultaneously. Little Robbie is licking his lips.
What's everybody staring at? Stop looking at me like I'm wearing a polka dot kilt with toilet paper hanging out of me bagpipes.
Rosa steps forward and says in a meek voice,
The reason we are so surprised is no one has ever eaten a whole Milo pepper before, that is, except for one other person. The evil El Toro.
The camera pans up to an ostentatious billboard. Robbie looks up. The billboard features a proud man that looks like Popeye's enemy, Brutus. He's standing with his arms draped around a nuclear family with extremely happy, over-the-top, joyful expressions on their face. El Toro is wearing a thick golden nose ring and also has a bolo with a shiny masculine bull hanging around his neck, for detail that is reminiscent of a bull or a toreador. The children are wearing little hats with bull's horns or in a toreador style. The sign reads, El Toros across the top and Bull is our business on the bottom. Robbie looks up at the billboard. Then we get a close-up of El Toro's face, which morphs into the same fire-breathing, monstrous face that he saw before. Robbie jumps back in fear.
Flashback. Wait a minute. You mean that guy? That guy right there? He's the evil El Toro? I guess that's his mismatched, multicolored monstrosity over there, too.
The camera pans to the exterior of El Toro's restaurant. The restaurant is a superstructure on a hill in the style of reminiscent Miami deco with lots of windows. It's painted in candy colors. The parking lot is full. There's a roller coaster, helicopters, spotlights, etc. The place is booming. The feeling is one of chaos, but it's very clean, almost to the point of sterility. The restaurant sign is blinking and says, El Toro's. He takes a few steps toward it and then turns back to Rosa and her father.
I really hate to ask. I know this guy ruined your lives and all, but I was just wondering, does he happen to sell the equivalent of your De Milo taco over there? Oh, no, senor. There is nothing on El Toro's menu that ends in AS or OS. He has turned his back on our culture. Let me see that menu.
Rosa hands him the menu.
So, there's no enchiladas? No tacos? No burritos? No nachos?
He says to Rosa as he flips open the menu. But before he reads it,
let's see what's in here. What's this junk? What's a nachum? And what's a cotton candy quail egg steak tartare tacum?
By this time, the peasant villagers have gathered around.
We don't know.
Little Robbie looks up, perplexed, mirroring their expressions. He reads the next menu item out loud.
Free range, mock chicken burritos with hardened aged stale rice and curly endive reduction glob. Ugh. Trendy, very trendy.
He moves to the next item.
Whoa, dude, check it out. It says right here, the special on the menu, the Terminatums. And it says, Arnie has never been to this restaurant, but if he had, this would definitely be one to make him say,
I'll be back.
Don't worry, Moms, and don't let the name fool you.
This one's for the kids' table. Includes a 97-ounce soda and a choice of plastic toy. He pauses and shakes his head and goes back to reading. Hey now, what's this? Now we're getting somewhere. The Tartantagum, featuring the famous DeMilo pepper. This dish originated in a small town in the Highlands of Scotland, where the people are known for their cowardice, hatred of music, and bad breath. Their only redeeming quality as a people is their undying love for their native dish, which also happens to be the magic ingredient here, haggis. The music ascends in volume, as if he has heard something that has made him very mad. Robbie looks up from the menu into the camera, and the music stops. Villagers of Venus, I've got a pepper that will put El Toro out of business. Behold, the Scotch bonnet. We hear an Irish penny whistle as he holds up the pepper. After a second, the music stops. The camera pans up to the El Toro billboard. There's an ugly black crow-like bird sitting on top of it with an ugly squawk. It files off toward the restaurant and disappears. In the same shot, in the course of 2 seconds, across the plain from the restaurant, in a whirlwind, it's coming up quickly, dust flying towards little Robbie and the villagers. A crazy-faced El Toro suddenly appears out of the whirlwind in front of little Robbie, and a bullwhip cracks. So, you say you've got a hot pepper, even hotter than El Toro's? That's me! Little Robbie confidently replies, I've tried your pepper. Is that like an after-dinner pepper? Like maybe a peppermint, cool and refreshing? Ooh. Well, I guess where you and your breath come from, you know all about peppermints. A few villagers chuckle, embarrassed. Little Robbie turns red and checks his breath in his hand secretly. I resent that. Okay, cool down, Mint Eastwood. So, you like extra spicy? Oh, well. As he says the next line, he turns around, addressing the crowd as well. That's good, because it just so happens that I was planning to unveil my end all live pepper today. And you have won the prize, my friend. You will be the first and last to ever try it. Today, I know. The whip cracks and he disappears in the whirlwind. The intro to the El Toro song begins with a marching polka. The scene is shot from one end of a street in an old Western-style town. There are false front buildings and tumbleweeds, etc. We hear the noise of a rowdy crowd. They come into view turning the corner. They look formidable, holding bottles of whiskey. They're unkempt, razor-stubbled banditos. Among the crowd is the Yuppie family from the billboard.
Can do. Hello.
El Toro is walking proudly in front. His mother, stern, petite, and skinny, wearing a black floor-length dress like a 19th century spinster, is in the crowd. Her hair is pulled up tight in a bun. She's walking just as proudly as El Toro and looking from side to side with her nose in the air as if she is the one about to do battle. The crowd halts suddenly as the double-time polka starts.
No one has ever beaten my son El Toro. undefeated walker. No one has ever beaten my son El Toro. Ole!
You think you're hot? Well, you are not. Prepare yourself for the end all like pepper.
You think you're hot, but you are so not. No one has ever beaten El Toro. That's me.
El Toro laughs heartily and repeatedly at the end of the song. He walks straight into the camera as he laughs until his face takes up the whole screen. Robbie is several feet in front of the villagers. Rosa is visible. The villagers look worried and are looking at each other. Robbie doesn't look terrified, but not completely brave either. A few drops of sweat are falling from his forehead. Two banditos bring out an ornately decorated gold chest carried on poles, evoking the Ark of the Covenant to El Toro. He puts on a black glove, reaches down into the box, and pulls out a glowing pepper, holding it by the stem. A peasant girl walks up holding a worn piece of wood with a Scotch bonnet on top of it. As a few banditos laugh smugly, little Robbie picks up the pepper and looks down to read the sign which says, "Closed forever." Robbie looks worried. El Toro and Robbie are facing each other and looking each other in the eye. El Toro looks very confident and sadistic. El Toro holds up the pepper in front of Robbie's face. Little Robbie hesitantly holds up his pepper too. El Toro's pepper grows sharp teeth and a spiked collar. It snarls and barks. The Scotch bonnet shows fear in its eyes and wilts. Rapid changing cuts vary among the town clock, which is 1 minute before noon, El Toro, little Robbie, Rosa, and the villagers, El Toro's mom, the sad-eyed dad, the banditos, the village dog, the yuppie family from the billboard anticipating entertainment. Everyone but the yuppie family is sweating and worried. There is a mission bell hitting with every shot change. The last shot is the clock which strikes high noon with a loud click. A second pause. Little Robbie and El Toro grab each other's peppers and pop them into their mouths. The time ticks by. Nothing happening. Suddenly, little Robbie clutches his throat and begins to walk towards a water trough where two of El Toro's bandits stand there drinking and smiling sadistically. When Robbie reaches the trough, they both turn him around and kick him in the butt. Rosa and the villagers are standing and looking terrified. Robbie is walking blindly now with eyes watering and smoke coming out of his mouth. He spits and the dirt catches on fire.
You see, friend, when you visit a foreign place, you best be careful when you sample the local cuisine. Sometimes it might not agree with you.
Little Robbie looks like he's going to vomit and is turning green with red dots.
Go ahead, my little friend. Let it out. You feel a lot better, man.
Robbie vomits out a big gush of fire, which sails 100 feet and explodes into a building. The building catches on fire. He then begins stumbling around, projectile vomiting fire out of his mouth, several times hitting structure, and one time igniting the bandits by the trough. They both jump in the trough. The town is growing dark and hellish from all the fire and smoke. The villagers are standing in smoke and wiping their eyes to see. The sad-eyed father is clutching Rosa, who wants to run and help little Robbie. El Toro's eyes are wild and crazy, and he's laughing like some devil. Yuppie family is looking on in powerless horror, realizing there is no longer any fun. Robbie looks up at the obscured sun for a moment and then lets out a great whoosh of fire into the sky. A distant shot of Venus is shown with a giant arching flame rising off of it. We cut to Robbie finally dropping to his knees. El Toro has a victorious look. He turns to the villagers.
It is sad to see a man who has no tolerance for spicy food. We can all agree who the clear winner is today.
Now little Robbie's voice is heard.
Not so fast, El Toro.
El Toro quickly spins around to find little Robbie standing red-eyed and shaken, but triumphant. Triumphant music blares. Rosa and her father look at each other, and both have big, teary smiles.
And as far as me having a weak stomach, that's more than I can say for you.
Robbie walks over to El Toro, grabs his hand, and turns it palm up.
The Scotch bonnet is seen in El Toro's hand by everyone.
And the villagers all have looks of surprise.
El Toro's face shows fear for the first time, and also his mother as well.
As El Toro watches helplessly, Robbie grabs the pepper with his thumb and index finger, and then stomps on El Toro's foot, and it causes his mouth to fly open. And Robbie nonchalantly tosses his pepper into El Toro's mouth, which involuntarily closes, and he's seen swallowing the pepper suddenly. Robbie steps back. Nothing happens. The crowd waits. El Toro waits, his eyes shooting this way and that. El Toro's mom breaks the silence by pulling out a bottle of Pepto-Bismol from her purse and yelling to her son. But Rosa appears suddenly and grabs it out of her hand. Rosa brings the bottle over to Robbie. Robbie eagerly drinks some and then smiles at Rosa. They stand side by side, and out of nowhere comes the sound of bagpipes. El Toro looks around and finally down at his feet, and his feet start turning plaid. And as the camera pans up his body, his socks are turning plaid. His pants are turning plaid. All of his clothes are turning plaid. The bagpipes get louder and louder. His entire head turns into a bagpipe with hot steam exploding out of the pipes, and he runs screaming across the field to his restaurant. He enters it, and the whole thing explodes. The crowd cheers, and little Robbie's victory song starts. To El Toro, his barbarous on the morrow. Now little Robbie is a hero. No one has ever beaten El Toro until today. You were so fearless and so brave, and now because of you are saved. Are you sure you wouldn't stay? No one has ever beaten El Toro until wondrous thing. Forever and ever, life on Venus will be much better. The whole town is dancing. They're dancing in a 60s style, a la Anne Margaret, go-go dancing, all in unison. Little Rosa grabs Robbie's hand and takes him to the feast table and sets him down. She puts in front of him all the traditional Mexican foods, tacos, burritos, poblanos. He's stuffing his face one after another with all of them. A wondrous thing. Forever and ever, life on Venus will be much better. Oh, love to stay, but I must go. Voyas candidas El Toro. But I want you all to know that Venus, I love you forever. Venus, I love you, and you don't mind a pepper. Venus, I love you forever, and how? Robbie is consuming all of this wonderful, wonderful Mexican food, and he is full to the brim. As he sings his last few lines, he's boarding his spaceship. He leans out of the window of the ship, still singing, and starts down the runway. Just as he finishes the last note, you hear a giant descending, bassy, farting noise. The crowd stops cheering and all sound stops abruptly. The spaceship halts. The crowd is shown with, "Oh my," type of expressions. Robbie is looking down out of the window of the ship at a tuba stuck under the wheel. He looks at the camera, looks at the crowd, looks back down at the tuba, looks at the camera again, and says, "It wasn't me."